Welcome to Who's Saying Grace.
Come on in, you all. Join us. Pull up a chair. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Sarah, her cousin.
This podcast is about grace, and we're going to explain our understanding of grace through pop culture, and specifically getting into movies and TV shows.
So, through our life experiences, we've kind of found this different definition of grace. And it's not really new, but it's new to us. And really, grace is our everything. It drives everything we do. It's our purpose, and we want to share that with you.
Yeah, the purpose of this exact episode is for listeners to understand what the podcast is about, for us to introduce ourselves, and to tell you why we are actually doing this podcast. And yeah. Okay, so that's it, because this is like how many tries have we been doing an introduction?
Take 271.
We're on month,
we are finally doing this.
Hashtags of how many months we've been working. So
really, what does grace even mean? Do you think people even know what grace is? I mean, what do you think people even think grace means, Rachel?
I would think that people see grace as like letting something slide, or I forgive you for doing that. I'm going to look past what you did. Sort of those statements come to mind. If you are a Christmas Vacation fan, though, and you like the Griswolds, it might be about the blessing, the grace.
Grace died 30 years ago. The blessing. They want you to say the blessing.
Grace. Say grace. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. We digress. Okay, that is not the grace we are talking about. We are talking about, so let's say the dictionary defines grace as an elegant movement, courteous goodwill, a blessing, a gift. And I think most Bible scholars define it as a free gift from God. It's undeserved forgiveness for your sin. And our definition of grace is the God-given ability to choose our own destiny. I mean, destiny is all. And it's the free gift of choice. And this might seem a little vague and maybe just a little bit confusing right now, but stay with us. At some point, we're really hoping this is going to make sense to you.
Okay, so just on point definition, just to reiterate, grace is the God-given ability to choose our destiny. So I'm going to ask you for an example. Like, when did you use grace recently?
Rachel, I use grace every day in my life.
Perfect.
My life is an example of grace. Okay. I really think there's this generalized belief by a lot of people that there's this one laid out path for you to take. And that might include like your job, your spouse, where you live. And the belief is that you don't really get to choose that path, that it's already been chosen or planned out for you. But grace really gives it back to me. It gives me the ability to choose. Mm-hmm. I get to make my own choices. I'm responsible for my own actions. I choose my spouse. I choose my job. And it makes me think of, okay, do you remember years ago, we did a Bible study at your house. It was by Stanley. I think it was called The Best Question Ever.
Yes.
And really, I have used that so many times from then on. Yeah. So basically, Andy said, you need to ask this question every time when you get ready to make a decision, you need to ask the question, in light of my past knowledge and understanding and my future goals, what is the best decision for me right now?
Right now.
And I think it makes sense. I don't have to sit there and think, what's God's perfect plan for me? Am I making the right decision? Am I following God's path that's already been planned out for me?
That using that example that you just said, like, that would feel like so stressful if everything was planned out, because how would I know if I was choosing right? Like, all these little sayings and these Christianese things that we hear, open the door, this door's open, this one's closed, all that stuff, that would feel like stress to me instead of grace, of just being freedom in the choice.
Yeah, I mean, the grace approach really, it kind of allows us to mess up without thinking that we're doomed. Mm-hmm. Or that I went against God, or I must not even be saved. And I mean, I really think some people even worry so much that they can't make a decision. They refuse to decide. They freeze up. and because they really fear that they're going to make the wrong decision against God.
Mm.
I mean, I know that I'm going to have consequences to my choices, good and bad. And at the end of the day, it was my choice. I can celebrate the good decisions, or I can use the bad ones to make changes in my life. And I really think God gave me the freedom to choose.
Yes, 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 yes. That is such a good way to look at it. And guess what? It fits our definition, the ability to choose. So to me, that makes more sense making than if you were to make God like the good guy or the bad guy. It's not his fault. And over the last 10 years, like this freedom to choose in our life with grace has become home base for you too, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's what grounds us and unifies us. And it's our center, like for the trials and the struggles and also the happiness and the joy. And it that kind of brings that balance. God isn't this like monster pulling all these strings making it happen.
And I think people are really missing out on that today. And that's really what this podcast is all about. We're going to show examples of where we think that our way of understanding grace is really being applied as we go through these TV shows and movies. And we're really hoping it's going to resonate with you.
You remember somebody told us that we might come across as sneaky. So we don't want to be sneaky. So we got to be careful. We up front, we're just going to tell you guys right now. Look, you do not have to drink the Kool-Aid. There's no goat sacrificing because guess what? We aren't the authority.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it might be important, though, for us to share a little bit about ourselves so that we can be upfront about who we are, what we believe, and
You know,
give us a little bit of street cred.
it's given the street cred. Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's helpful that we have this history together because a huge part of us was our church upbringing. And like that was our base, like our church based. We were raised in the Midwest Bible Belt and we did it all, you guys, like everything. Our younger years, side by side, we went to church every Sunday. We did camps. We did vacation Bible school, youth groups, all of it. And like you had a purity ring, right? I don't think I ever did.
The purity ring.
Mm.
Oh
I mean, I know about them, but
okay, I remember
I
sitting in those old hard wooden pews. Do you remember that?
Of course. But now we use them as foyer decorations. People's houses.
Pretty sure you were always getting in trouble because you couldn't sit still. I mean, I don't know what your problem was, Rachel. I didn't have any trouble sitting still.
Proper. You were so proper. do you remember that grandma always had gum in her purse? Like always. And like it wasn't just like one flavor. You had so many choices. Big Red, Double Mint, Spearmint. I mean,
the chiclets. Remember the chiclets? Those little teeny tiny gums, all different colors. Pretty sure I thought they were candy. They were my favorite.
Yes.
I pretty much swallowed all of them.
Those were in the yellow package. You know what else? Why is gum good for church? Like how loud you could be with that? I guess we were.
No, maybe it just helped us keep our mouths closed.
We were trustworthy. Mm-hmm. Oh, and we did a lot of drawing. Those bulletins were filled with our gorgeous art pieces. We should have saved all that.
So good.
Yeah,
so good.
all memories.
Then really, as we got older, we kind of lost track of each other, and we weren't really connected like we were when we were little. But it's kind of funny because we were both really just kind of doing the same thing, going through life, doing all the things, marriage, babies, jobs, church. We were just plugging along in life and religion, trying to do the things we were taught to do, and we just assumed it was the right way. But really, when we stopped and kind of looked back and really took a look at our lives, it just wasn't adding up for either one of us. I feel like we were pretty miserable. I don't know. I was miserable. And we just started questioning and wondering. And then I think that kind of really reconnected us.
Yeah, I think we were probably miserable in different ways because I know we both have, I'm going to call it church trauma, but sort of differently. But I mean, because sometimes I didn't even know I was miserable till I'm now on this other side because I was divorced, a single mom and a Christian single mom. And I'm trying to fit in this church where it always felt like the core family with the 2.5 kids and the car and the jobs and the white picket fence. And that wasn't my story. I did find a group of people in there, but it still just felt like the misfit outcasts. Like we didn't really fit in, and there wasn't really a group for us to get. And even those small little groups that we had, I mean, that just kept us connected in that same type of life. So it felt like, oh, I'm not going to make this right choice. Yeah, it did. It felt like I wasn't going to make a right choice, or I wasn't going to be good enough
Right. It
for it.
makes me think of, I mean, I was this Christian pregnant teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and the church had a heyday with me. And my boyfriend, eventually husband, and I, we actually had to stand before the entire
Oh,
church and repent publicly of our sin. I mean,
what is
seriously, as
that?
if we were the only ones sinning.
Right.
And how is that not hypocritical? Apparently, no one else has ever sinned after becoming a
No,
Christian.
no, not.
But then we learned grace doctrine.
Hmm. And I remember like you introduced me to Grace Doctrine, and at first it's so different. So in what we're that not indoctrinated, I don't know what the word is, but like, but then when I started going, and because oh, it just spoke to my heart. It was like it was starting to make sense. But I have to admit, still, I'm like embarrassed sometimes to say I'm a Christian. I would I kind of go, oh, I'll put a different spin on it or say something else differently, even though I'm saying I'm a Christian, because there's like this blanket feeling. I feel like in our faith that so many are not walking the talk, and it feels like people can be rude. Like Christians can be rude and very judgmental. Where's the love in that? Where's the grace? Like why? Why?
Yeah. I really think in the last decade, we've observed that Christians are trying so hard to bring people back to the faith, and they're really trying to just kind of make it hip and new and fresh. And they're putting this mask on an old religion that doesn't invite questioning and exploration and the brutal, honest daily living of grace. And it feels oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong. We still believe in God, and we still believe that there is one true God, the creator. We believe in the Bible. We love Jesus. But who's to say that religion has it all figured out about God and his characteristics?
Right?
And why do we make like one person or one religious group the authority? Where's the grace in that?
Okay, let's pause for one little second here. Do you understand how smart Sarah is, you guys? Like, no,
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
serious. Just take this for a second. She's
Seriously?
so
You're putting
studied.
me on a pedestal and
You're
I'm going to
studied.
fall on my face.
She's,
Really.
you won't.
Come
She's
on now.
studied in the Bible. And I'm going to tell you, she's like my guru because we are so yin and yang. All the feelings. I can just come to her with one of these deep thoughts that I'm having because of all my emotions and feels that I need to sometimes be grounded and relate it back to my faith. And I want to know the biblical answer to it that makes sense. And I want to feel it not being judgy. I want to feel that has love and grace at the center, but I want to know where that is in the Bible and how it relates to me. Enter my cousin. So she's teaching me all about this grace, and it's so freeing. I'm like, my chains are gone. I've been set free. I
Okay.
want everybody to feel that
Yes.
freedom. I want them to feel it.
Freeing makes me think freedom and getting away from an oppressor, but we really didn't want to just walk away from the church.
Mm-mm.
But we also couldn't stay somewhere that didn't make sense
Amen.
because grace is not an oppressor. And I really think these shows have given us this great place to land to talk about those hard parts of Christianity and those confusing things, and to just open up a conversation with others about their thoughts and questions. And it's not just Christianity, it's all religions. And it's not just religious, it's all people groups. We all need to be questioning. And so often we find this one path to the meaning of life, and then we blindly follow that path until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. I mean, like when you go through this, like when you're coming to grace, you have to ask a lot of hard questions about your faith. And I have so much tradition and behavior that I had no idea that stemmed from that environment and from my upbringing. So when we started questioning, it uncovers a lot of hard truth, you know?
And like, even though some of these shows are set in a time, way back in the past, they're really relevant right now. It's just so crazy to think about. And really, I remember as we were kind of watching these shows, we'd catch little things and we'd think, oh my goodness, that person is so similar to things that we're going through. And it's awesome that that actor, that they can portray their struggles so well. And it got me really thinking deeper and questioning the real meaning of grace.
It did. It sparks that because the authors and the writers and the directors and the producers and the actors, they're so brilliant in these shows. And we might be a little dramatic on that, on how much we love these shows, but
Mm-hmm.
and you might think we give them too much credit, but what if like all these people involved, from the writing of the character to the person playing the character, and what if just like that is all just like us, and every all of it is searching for grace and searching for freedom in that.
And so, no matter what your background is, no matter what your current beliefs are, join us for this discussion. I think there's a lot of truth in all of it, and I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other. Who's saying grace?
It won't stop recording. You're gonna have to cut mine off at the end. There's something up.